Hi guys, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Adele. I'm on a journey to lose £100. Guys, what a year this has been. This is my end of year review. This is the video that comes before my goal setting for next year and the obvious kickstart. Do you know what? It was really interesting because to go back and review my year, what I did is I went back over all my old weekly reviews, you know, my 12-week cycles and then the weekly reviews inside that. And I went back right to the beginning of March when I first started this process, when I first started this diet. For a long time, I thought it was in January, but it wasn't, it was March. This is the way it is, this is the way it is, this is my channel, you know me by now. So I went back and it's amazing how much I've forgotten, how many struggles I had, and now look back and think, I'd forgotten about that. I'd forgotten I struggled with that. I'd forgotten about to the point where I didn't even remember how I managed to get over that. So it's really interesting how, as you progress through your journey, there is so much that you forget. And I suppose that's why I wanted to record it, why I wanted to document it, because there is so much that I'm amazed that I've forgotten. Absolutely amazed. So, a little bit later, I am going to be sharing with you my measurements and some before and after pics. I will say the measurements weren't from the beginning of my journey. I think I didn't take my first lot of measurements, foolishly, until May. And bear in mind I started at the beginning of March, so that was 2 months. And I lost quite a bit in those first 2 months. And the before and after pictures, my husband said to me, actually, I showed him last night, and he said, oh, those are not great pictures. And I said, well, why is that? He said, because actually it doesn't do it justice. And I went, what do you mean? And he said, looking at that picture there of you now, he said, that's not what I see. He said, you change much more than the picture actually shows. He said, whether it was the way you were standing or whatever. I said, I don't know. But you know what, guys? It's a guide, isn't it? It's a rough guide as to the journey. You know what I'm saying? First of all, I suppose what I wanted to do in this end of year review was, and what I want to do through it, is actually look at the things that made the most difference to me. The things that changed my thinking, changed my path, helped me out of a sticky situation. You know, because we all know what those downs look like and, you know, what our challenges are. But what I wanted to really do was celebrate the things that actually made the difference. The things that, without them, I'm not sure I would be sitting here so far into my journey. First things first, I'm going to start with the books that I read that changed my life. And I say that by no means of being dramatic, even though I can be a bit dramatic, but they really did. Reading the books, whether it was right time, right place, right mindset, I don't know, but these books changed my life. They really did change my life. Beyond where I ever thought that I could be. Let's start with the first one. The first one, and the reason this is the first one, because it's more or less the first one I actually read, and it's what gave me my framework. Because that's what I struggled with up until then, was actually not knowing what really to do and what was best for me. I wasn't sure, and I had no way of actually putting that together. So this was the first book I read, and it wasn't for diet purposes that I read it. I read it because it was recommended. The first book is The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran. I have this as an audiobook, so I will put a picture here for that book so you can see, and also I will link everything down below in the description box. So if you want to have a look at it, or if you've got Audible, then you can listen to these on Audible. The 12-Week Year is a method. It is a process whereby you take your big goals, your big aspirations. It gets you to really dream big. What do you really want? And then what it helps you do is it helps you to put it into a 12-week framework in order to break it down. Because I know going into this journey, having £100 and a bit of change to lose, it felt too much, it felt too big a deal, it felt overwhelming. But what this has done, it has given me the framework to only look at things in 12-week chunks. So I did my planning for the year and what I wanted to achieve, and then I could break it down into 12-week sections, and then every 12-week section breaks it down into weekly sections. So this book put the framework around my diet. It put it into bite-sized pieces that meant that I could do this and didn't become overwhelmed. As you know, you've seen my 12-week reviews, and if not, I will link that down below as well. You know that I live by this process. Every week I review, and that is what has enabled me to understand myself and to make the changes that I needed to in order to get to where I am today. Without that framework, it would have been a whole lot trickier. And that framework applies to anything. It doesn't have to be just a diet. It can be anything, whether you're starting a new business or whatever. It's a really good framework. That's the first one. The next one I read, and this book really did change my life. And without this book, I would not be sitting here halfway through my goal. I wouldn't be. I can hand on heart say, without doubt, without this book, I could not have made the changes that I needed. And this, I've got Audible version of it, and I've actually got a physical copy. This is called How to Do the Work by Dr. Nicole LaPera. Okay, this book helped me to understand why I did what I did, why I kept on repeating bad habits, why I could never stick to anything, why I would emotionally overeat, why I would eat reactively to situations. This, and what's contained in these wonderful pages, allowed me to understand myself, understand the way my brain worked and reacted to stuff. Not only that, to understand how my upbringing has affected what I do as an adult. And you know, I spoke about this probably more frankly than I've probably ever have done in my very first video on how I got to being £100 overweight. This book fixed everything. Word of caution though, it gets you to look deeper at yourself than you ever have, and that can be painful. It's caused me to cry on more than one occasion. And it also requires you to do the work. It's called How to Do the Work. And you do need to do the work. Knowing it and understanding it is not enough, because I think that I knew and understood it before, if I be honest. However, this book gave me the tools to take that learning and make effective change. It got me to understand why, to realise that it's not my fault, to give myself a bit of grace and to give me the tools to change it, because you can change. You can literally change anything about yourself, and I've learned that through this book, and that is something that I never thought was possible before. This, I owe everything to this book, and my morning journaling, as you would have already seen, comes from this book. Everything that I've learnt that's in my morning journaling came from this book. Everything. So if you find you're in the same position as I was, not being able to make the changes, revisiting old bad habits, it's a good read. Okay, next one is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I've read this actually on and off over the space of a couple of years, ever since it was released, more or less. I did have a physical copy, my daughter's got it, but I do have an Audible as well, and I do listen to that. And from that book, the thing that I think pulled the most from me was about habit stacking, and that is stacking new good habits on top of old habits that are good habits, not bad habits. You know, like I start my morning with my meditation, because this book will have you keep one promise to yourself a day. That's how you start. And my promise to myself was my morning meditation every single day. Then it tells you to build upon it. Now, James Clear in his book Atomic Habits really goes into the nitty gritty of how to habit stack and also how to unhabit stack if you're in a bad cycle of habits. There are many more good things about that book, but for me, that is the one standout piece, I think, and that has enabled me to build my morning routine. So this gave me everything that I needed to create the morning routine, and Atomic Habits give me everything that I needed to stack that morning routine in a way that I could do it every day that would make the difference. The last one is, and I've read lots and lots of books that have given me different ideas, but this one I found really enlightening. And again, this is not about diet, and none of these books are about diets, but it's about the message they carry. And the last one is called The Art of War. It's by Stephen Pressfield. Again, I will leave it down below. It's an Audible book that I've got. This is not Audible affiliated. It's just that, as I've explained before, I don't enjoy reading too much, but I will listen to books, and I really enjoy that. And this book, War of Art, it helped me to understand resistance and resistance in your life. Why is it that even though you know you should do something, why do you not do it? Because as human beings, we resist change. It's the way we are. It's the way our brain is. By resisting change, it keeps us safe. And I've talked about that a lot about you know, about your brain telling you things to keep you safe, even the unhelpful things, because it doesn't like change. But this goes into why our brain really does, or how it manifests itself, and how we can prevent you from doing things. It's not bad to feel resistance, but what the book has done is it's given me more confidence to push against the resistance. So even though this book talks about the resistance and about keeping promises to yourself, because it's when you hit the resistance do you then think, no, I need to keep this promise to myself, and that enables you to push forward. But this comes from a slightly different angle, in the sense that it helps you to understand what the resistance is, and says to you, well, actually, you're not going to feel better until you push forward anyway. You're not going to feel what you need to feel until you push forward anyway. So that book, I think, has reinforced to me the work from this book. I hope that makes sense to you. So those are my 4 books. Those are my 4 books of this year, and I'm sure I will find some more next year. But these are books that I go back to time and time again. If I'm ever not so much feeling lost, because I'm not sure that I felt particularly lost in this process, and I think that's down to my morning journaling, which you've heard so much about. But those books, every time I read them, I learn something more, because I think there's only so much you can take in at once. So these books have really, really helped me to change. I've taken in more and more and more every time I've read them. I learn something new, which is amazing, which really is amazing, though you wouldn't think you would still be learning from them, but I do, because there's things that I just couldn't take in at the time, because maybe another step needed to come first. Those are the books that have rocked and changed my world, and I would recommend those to everybody. If I could buy those 4 books for everybody I came across, I absolutely would, because they've made such a big change. The next section is what I've learned about weight loss this week. This is where I've gone back over everything, reviewed everything, looked at my weekly reviews, and thought, right, okay, what have I learned? Because sometimes you forget what you've learned as time goes on, because it becomes part of you, then you forget you had that struggle with it, and that's why really I wanted to document this process. First things first. Number 1, tracking. For me, tracking was absolutely essential. Not only to stay within plan, but do with confidence, to understand that what I was doing would help me make progress. I know that kind of, you think, oh, well, actually every plan does that. And yes, every plan does do that. But for me, it became more of a psychological thing, in that I used to think if I went over on days that then I'd broken it, that I'd done something wrong, that I couldn't stick to the plan, and that was the message that I sent to myself. But what I've realised through tracking, especially calories, I think, and as my learning has developed, that it's okay to have heavier days and lighter days because your body shifts. Some days you're busier, so you require more food. Sometimes you're not so busy, so you require less. And I've learned that more recently, as you would have seen in some of my videos, than ever, that actually it's okay to have heavy days and lighter days as long as by the end of the week you average out to where you're meant to be. And I think for me, religious tracking, you know there's bits and pieces that I don't track because I always talk about it, but tracking in the main has given me that. It's given me the confidence to know that what I'm doing is going to bring the results I want. Number 2, my weekly reviews. Without my weekly reviews, I wouldn't be sitting here now, to tell you the truth, because I wouldn't be able to have anything to tell you because all those thoughts have gone by the by. But it's really helped me to succeed on my journey because it's helped me to understand what works for me and what doesn't, and then to be able to tweak those things that don't work. I have had, as you know, weeks when I've not lost anything, and because I track everything and I review it at the end of every week, I'm able to look at it and say, right, okay, I didn't walk as much this week as I normally would, so the calories are the same, I didn't walk as much, so that means a bit less calories, therefore it's down a bit. Or I will look at, you know, did I track every day? No, I didn't track every day, so therefore if you're not tracking, then technically you could be going over. So the weekly review has enabled me to take my daily tactics and what's going to get me to my goal, record them, and then at the end of the week look to see whether I've been consistent with those things I've set myself, and if I haven't been consistent, why have I not been consistent? What has come in? What has affected my week? You know, did I have impromptu meals out? Did I have down days that affected my mood? Did I have plan changes? What is it that is in my daily life that affects the way I apply that to my weight loss, I suppose? Even things like, you know, quite often, as you would have seen on one of my videos, I would have said, well, actually, I need to put more veg in this week because I'd realised that I was probably eating way too many carbs. Now, I love my carbs, and I'll never give up carbs, so it's not about that. But sometimes I think you can look over your week and think, well, no, I did go overboard with that, or I did go overboard with the snacks this week, because not all calories are created equally, and your body does different things depending on what you feed it. So the weekly review enables me to understand what I've done that week, how that has affected my weight loss, and to make those changes for next week. That makes sense? Weekly review. Essential. Next thing is my morning meditation. You know, as part of my morning journaling. My morning journaling is everything. But what the meditation has enabled me to do, one, it was the beginning of my habit stack, as I've already said. But also it brings clarity to my morning, because I think by the time we get up and we start moving around, getting ready, our brain is already going, thinking about the day ahead, thinking about what you need to do, and it becomes a bit of like a runway train. So by the time I've done all that, my head is filled with things, and then all of a sudden, maybe, you know, good eating hasn't become a priority because something else has happened. So the morning meditation brings clarity back into my day. So it stops that runaway train, it enables me to focus my thoughts, to do my planning properly for that day, and to be able to prioritise me, prioritise my food, my healthy choices. So it brings me back to a state of calm, so I can tackle the day a bit better. Number 4, food planning and ordering. Yes, there have been weeks where it's not been perfect, but in the main, it's made me feel more organised, and I can be a person who's not very organised. So that organisation has helped me really to stay in control. It's enabled me to stay in control of my food choices. It's helped me to stay on track because now I'm not just throwing meals together and hoping for the best. I am making considered choices for the week. And that brings on to another point actually, in the fact that I no longer have to think about food then, because one of my biggest things was, and that I've done so many times, is that I've been on a diet, whether it be a club or not, and because I haven't done that planning ahead, I'm trying to make decisions on the day. But sometimes on the day there's other things going on, and then all of a sudden you'll go, oh, I'll just grab that because I've got this thing happening and I haven't got time to think about the food. I haven't got time to think about that, so I'm just gonna get takeaway. I'm just gonna chuck a pizza in. I'm just gonna go to the chip shop. I'm just going to do something that's not gonna serve you well and it's not going to help you towards your weight loss goal. So doing that has really, really helped me. Not only that as well, when I plan, I've said this before, I plan every Friday morning. So I get up in the morning, get ready, do my morning journaling, do my weekly weigh-in video, have breakfast, then do my planning. I'm not hungry, I'm in a place of calm. So when I make that food plan, I make it from the best possible point. The point where I'm saying, right, this is how I need to feed myself. This is what I need to do in order to lose the weight. I can do it from a state of calm, not feeling hungry, not running into a supermarket. I'll shut up now. Okay. Next point, how to do the work on my morning journaling. Well, if you're new here, I will leave my morning journaling video linked up here and down below. You probably need to go and watch that. Everybody else has been here and you've seen it, then you know it's everything for me. That is what keeps me on track every day without doubt. It is the key to this weight loss. And I know I've said that about a lot of things, but they all actually need to connect together. And this morning journaling brings all the parts together and makes one key. I'm not going to say anymore, but because I've talked about it so much. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll leave the video. Watch that. Diet cycling. I was quite new to diet cycling. I think I started it at the end of August, I think. I'd seen a video by Misfit and Nerdy. I'll leave a link below, and if you go over there and check it out, let her know I sent you. She does all the science-based fact behind anything weight loss and fitness. What she doesn't know probably isn't worth knowing, I've got to be honest with you. She's a very young lady with an older head on her shoulders that actually, and she knows her stuff. She really does know her stuff. And I came across one of her videos, and I do watch her regular stuff because actually she's got such good info. So check it out, she's really good, she's really good. And she talked about diet cycling, and I was getting to a stage of the process where I'd been dropping my calories a little bit and I was just getting hungrier and hungrier and hungrier, and I was thinking, well actually I've still got a long way to go. I can't afford to be dropping my calories too much. And I came across the video on diet cycling. So what it did was, it gave me the opportunity to not only to give myself a bit of a break, because I think when you're on any long-term journey, it's a hard slog. So it gave me the breaks I needed, but it actually taught me something more, because actually diet cycling, I mean, scientifically proven, there's a study called MATADOR study that did a bit of research into how the best way to lose weight was, and they found that actually diet cycling was more effective than just straightforward continual cycling. Like I said, I leave her channel link below, and the video link if I can find it. So not only did it help me to get to a place where I'm not constantly dropping my calories, because the theory is every time you go into a deficit, your body drives for homeostasis. It just wants to be where it's actually at. And the more you take your calories down, the more it downregulates all your systems, your hormones and all that kind of stuff. And they'd say that the best cycle really is probably 3 weeks in a deficit and 1 to 2 weeks back at maintenance. And I have noticed through doing the diet cycling that, and because I'm quite good now at paying attention to myself, because of the morning journaling, and my thoughts and feelings, I have noticed when I'm getting to the end of that 3 week cycle that my sleep is starting to suffer, I'm getting hungrier, my mood is starting to suffer. And I know that being on long-term weight loss journeys before, that just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse to the point where I sort of gave in my diet because I was in not a good place, because my calories were too low, because I was too hungry, because my moods are too bad, because my sleep is too bad. So what this enables me to do is to the point where I start to feel myself suffering because of the deficit, because actually it puts a lot of strain on your body. It gives you more cortisol than you normally would have. So it does put a huge strain on your body actually running in a deficit, because your system is saying, well, actually, I haven't got enough to run and function properly. So what it does as well, it gives your body a little bit of a break. So not only did it help with my moods and my sleep and all that kind of stuff, and not having to drop my calories as often as I would need to, the one thing it did as well, because you're taking a break, then all of a sudden you have to then get back on track. And if any of you have fallen off plan, you know that sometimes it can be very, very tricky trying to get back on plan. So because I now do this so often, I'm not saying in the beginning it was so tricky, and I built my own strategy for doing it, which I have spoken about before. So what it did was enabled me to develop a system whereby I could get back on track very easily, and now I have no problem at all. I have my diet break, I get back on track, like as if nothing has happened. So that has also enabled me to think, actually in the future, when I get to target, that I can actually stay there, because I'm used to eating in a way that promotes better health, promotes better weight balance, and I don't find it difficult getting back on track and doing it, because I practice so many times. So it's almost practice for the future me, if that makes sense. So that has been it, because moods are better, sleep is better, hormones are better. The last and final tip I've got is about developing better eating habits. I do eat less snacks now than I used to. I do eat better food now than I used to. I always thought of myself as somebody who actually ate quite well, but just ate too much. But the more I've done my reviews, the more I've done my tracking, especially from the beginning, you realise actually how unhealthy sometimes your habits can be, your food habits. So by doing all those reviews, doing all those tracking processes, I've been able to limit the processed stuff and put more whole foods back in to my diet. And even though I am constantly on a mission to make that better and better all the time, and I've got plans for next year, which you will see in tomorrow's video, because that is my goal setting for the year. So I'll be showing you how to goal set as well. That has been the one good thing, because I know that I've benefited from that. My skin has benefited from it, my general health has benefited from it, I'm more active, I've got more energy now, because I'm eating foods that suit me more. My IBS is not as bad as it used to be. In fact, I have very few bouts of IBS these days, because I've changed my food. That is the final of what I've learned this year. Probably a bit longer than I thought that was going to be, but those are the things that worked. Now on to the actual measurements, the pictures, because, you know, with all that said, we want to know what the results look like. So as I said, I didn't take my measurements from the beginning, because I was silly. I don't know why, I really don't. I think maybe actually I thought, oh, I'm not going to bother, because how long is this going to last for, because that would have usually been me, without realising how much I was about to change. So these are from 2 months in, and 2 months in, I'd already lost about 1.5 stone. So I would turn around and say quite easily you could add at least an extra inch onto these figures, I would say. Maybe a little bit more, I've got to be honest. Bust measurements. I've lost 5 inches off my bust, I've lost 5 inches off my waist, and I've lost 6 inches off my hips. Which, when I first looked at it, I thought, oh, well, that's not a lot, until I put on a pair of trousers that I wore back then. And that's what made me think then, well, actually, no, I've lost more than that, because if I took the gap, it was more than that. And to try those trousers on and realise how when you just let them go, they just hit the ground with no resistance, it makes you realise then how much those inches are. I didn't take things like arm measurements and leg measurements and stuff like that at the same time, but I know that from the time I did start measuring those ones as well, which is probably more in the summer, they've seen a massive difference as well. My arms have gone down a lot, my legs have gone down a lot, as you would imagine, I suppose. And as of filming this video, I stand at 48.6 pounds down. I never thought that was going to happen. Never. Anyway, let me show you a quick picture. I did debate on whether to do this because, you know, I don't like exposing myself too much. But I'll show you guys anyway, because you know what, we're all friends here, yeah? We're all friends. We won't judge each other here. Okay, so I'm going to put it on screen. You ready? You ready? Okay. There it is. It's interesting because from the front view, I look at it and think, yes, obviously I am narrower than I was, but shape pretty much the same. It probably doesn't help as well because I've got like vest tops on. So you do things, you know, if I was standing there, you know, just skin, then you do see the curves go in a bit more. You see the waist come in a bit more. So you don't really notice too much from the front. But actually, it was the side view, I think, that that amazed me the most. And I think I did say in a couple of videos ago where I'd been out shopping and I caught myself in some mirrors, you know, sort of side on, and thought, oh, and you just takes you back a little bit. I think the side view is being the most thing, and I probably didn't help the way I was standing. I should have taken in the same way as I took the original picture. But there has been the most difference for me. Looking at that side view, I am absolutely amazed how much my body's changed. Like I said, my husband looked at it and said, actually that doesn't do it credit. He said it really doesn't, because he said, you know, he said your body actually looks leaner than the picture suggests. But that's okay, I can take that, that's fine. It's nice of him to say so anyway. So that's it, guys. That is my first year done. I don't know what else to say. I am so incredibly grateful to myself for starting this process, for sticking with it, for doing the learning, for persevering, through taking the challenges and finding better ways forward, not just giving up just because it was difficult. Because it was difficult, it was hard, especially in the beginning, so hard, so hard. But now, so much easier, so much easier. I'm not saying I don't have my tricky days, because I do. I've had tricky days this week. It's Christmas, you know, we've all been experiencing the same thing, you know, and it's tough. It really, really is tough. But on the days that I can be on plan, I'm on plan, and it's easy to do that because I've done the work. Because I've done the work. So that's it, guys. That is my end of year review. Like I said, I got great things coming up next year. I've got, because as you can imagine, I've already done my goal setting and my planning for next year, and I am so excited. I am so excited. I'm looking forward to Christmas, I'm not saying, but I'm so excited for January and what that has to bring, including the Kickstart. So anyway, that's it, guys. If you've enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. If you've got any observations on your own end of year review, let me know in the comments, because you know what, I love hearing your stories. I love hearing how well you're doing, and you know, talking with you about pitfalls and how I might deal with it, you know, so that I might be able to help you, because this is a community, and this is what I want to build. It's a community where we can help and support each other. It's what I want most of all, because I know how difficult this journey is, and I want to help people if I can. Let's stop that before I get too emotional. Anyway, I will see you in tomorrow's video. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Bye, guys.